So we are going to study about constant pressure filtration. So filtration, let's figure out what that means in the first place. Whenever you have some solids and liquids together and you want to separate them in a very simple way using a medium. A medium can be a filter paper, it can be a cloth. So once you take your solid liquid mixture or a suspension and you pass them through this medium, most of the solids will get stuck on this side of the medium because it's porous, and whatever is supposed to flow through will flow through. So a very important term comes out. Whatever can flow through we are calling filtrate. For our experiment, let's assume that only the liquids can flow through and all the solids remain on this end of the medium. Okay, so something like this. Another important concept we will learn about is this del P, the pressure drop across the whole system when this filtration is occurring. Okay. Let's look at some of the theories behind the experiment. So this is directly from your lab manual. What are the objectives? To study the filtration processes and determine which are the major contributing factors. To determine the flow rates through the filters and to determine the specific cake resistance and the filter medium resistance in a number of constant pressure runs. So here there is this first thing we need to learn, factors. Now what are these factors? We don't even know what these factors are. So how will we measure them? So let's look at each of these factors in a bit in some of the next slides. The second one is to determine the flow rates through the filters. Flow rates of what? Okay, so we need to figure out what we are trying to find out. To determine the specific cake resistance and the filter medium resistance. Well, what are these? So let's go through the slides and figure them out. Okay, so this is the typical filtration equipment that you will be seeing in the lab, and this is sort of a schematic diagram. It's called the plate and frame filter press. Filter we know. What is this plate and what is this frame and what is this about the press? So the idea is this, and this is the lab equipment. So let's just look at these one by one. So as you can see, there looks like a bunch of boxes over here. That's what the plate and frames are. Some of these boxes have they have nothing in between them. They are hollow. They have basically, this is a complete. So this is faka. This has nothing over here, and this one is like a metal. It's like just a metal board. It cannot let anything go through, and this can let everything go through. Then how will you get the filtration? And first of all, what do these things mean? What are they termed? This is the plate and this is the frame. Pretty obvious. This looks like a frame or a picture frame, and it has nothing in here, and this is a plate. So how does that help in filtration? So that, tell me which is the plate and which is the frame. Okay, I will ask this. Okay, so let me tell you how it goes. So one by one, there's going to be a plate first, and then there's going to be a frame, and then a plate, and then a frame. If you can see here, there's a plate and there's a frame. There's a plate and there's a frame. Well, how does that help us? So the idea behind this is, this one doesn't allow anything to pass through. This one allows everything to pass through. So what we do is, we put a plate which doesn't allow anything. Then we put a frame. Let's make it like this. Then we put a plate. Then we put a frame. But if it allows everything to pass through, how will we get filtration? So we put a filter cloth on both sides of each frame. So now what will happen? Still we don't know how to get the liquid across. Well, you have these small holes over here. Can you see? And this hole has something called an inlet, but it doesn't have an outlet. This one doesn't have an inlet, but it has an outlet. So that gives you a clue of how the fluid will flow. And this diagram also gives you a clue of how the fluid will flow. The fluid is actually flowing inside through here. Your suspension is going through the bottom. Now it has nowhere to go, right? Does it have anywhere to go? Yes, because Tumar, all the plates and frames are lined up so that all the holes that we see, they line up like a channel. There's a hole here, there's a hole here, there's a hole here, there's a hole here. Okay, so this looks like a channel through which the fluid can flow. If I make the channel like this, that's exactly what's happening here. Okay, so then what? Now look carefully. This plate is this thing that is completely black, and the frame is the one which has the white portion. So the suspension, solid plus liquid, will flow through here because it's fully empty, right? This is the frame. Then what will happen? Remember, I told on both sides of this there are cloths. So the cloth will stop the solids, but it will let go of the liquids. And remember, we had channels here, so they will flow out of this channel, flow out of this hole, and they will reach this channel. Same thing here. It will come here somewhat because there's more place to flow. It will come into this frame. All the solids will be stuck in this frame part, and all the liquids will be able to flow. So that's the basic idea. A new term which we need to know is, okay, we already looked at filtrate, right? So obviously, since suspension was entering over here and all the liquid is coming out of these channels, there's a filtrate. What do we call the solid? Yes, you got it. It's the cake. So this is the new term, and we are going to find out what is called the specific cake resistance. We'll look at that also in a few slides.